Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. This project, which I intended for today, is, as you can see, only partly put together. And also, this is only a fraction of the materials I need for it. I got a little waylaid, as some clients needed some tanks put into more of an idle mode and took more fish out and that sort of stuff, and a couple tanks I needed to go and clean. So I actually had some work to do, so that is going to be for next week. So I thought for today, instead, I would end up getting caught up on a few things that a few people wanted to see. First off, a little bit of a fish room tour. Not all my tanks, but at least the ones that are presentable. And at the end, I'm also going to include a clip, which is going to be an audio clip of the noise level in the fish room. So people are wondering, with all the bubbling I do with a lot of the air builds, how loud is it in my fish room? So at the end, there's going to be a couple clips with the sound in it, and you get to hear that as well. But mostly what I want to talk about today is something I've actually been meaning to get to for a little while, and that is the concept of a freshwater cleaning crew. Now, I know in marine systems it's actually something that they talk about an awful lot. There's a lot of invertebrates, hermit crabs, snails, and other things that are actually really necessary to get up the little pieces of food and algae and that sort of stuff, and obviously keep the tank as clean as possible. But I think in freshwater, it's just as important. Not so much in the sense that there's a dollar value involved, but like I said many times, I'm lazy. I don't like to clean more aquariums than I need to. You gotta do it all day long. Well, except lately, of course. With the business, I clean a lot of tanks normally, and even during this break that I've had, I don't really want to do any more cleaning than I absolutely need to. So the tanks you see here, I don't clean the glass. I haven't cleaned any except I will wipe down the front from water spots every now and then. And you can see they're quite clean. All these tanks that you see are, they all get the same regimen. They all get the exact same number of water changes and everything else. I rely on three main things to help, and a fourth, which is should be quite evident, and that's the plants. A lot of plants actually really does help, except you can see the first tank that I showed you there is getting overgrown, so it is actually counterproductive at some point. But that aside, oh yeah, also I haven't got to this either. This has to all be put up like the other side, but more time and less getting done. All right, so the three things I rely on mostly, you can actually see in detail right here. This tank is obviously quite dirty in the sense that it's overgrown with algae. That's because this breeding pair of OB convicts likes to eat pretty much anything that goes in this tank. So the three things I use as cleaning crew, which are ram's horn snails and cherry shrimp, though they've bred out sufficiently now that they're either brown or clear. They started off as cherry shrimp. And the other thing, which most people call scuds, I think the proper name is gramaris. Those are the three things that I find really help in keeping a tank clean, and these guys love eating them. Another aside on this particular pair is I've been breeding these guys for quite a number of years now, and I think I've finally found enough. Like, I've been breeding for a docile, like a pair that won't kill each other, and I think I finally might have gotten that. But one of the things I find as a side note for that as well is they don't breed quite as much as the more aggressive, predecessors. But anyway, they do breed, and they currently have a brood going, and I'll probably show you a clip of that at some point in the future as well. So yeah, this tank here gets the exact same cleaning as all the other tanks. In other words, I don't do anything. I do water changes. I water change probably about 30% a month, and then that's it. And obviously there is a little bit more of a load in that tank, because not so much as numbers, but in the size of the fish and the amount of food it gets. But those, not this particular tank here, but the other ones on towards the other side, they get as much food as that tank does, and they all still get the exact same amount of water changes, and you can see the difference between one and the other. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a quick break from the tour, and I'm going to show you some of the scuds that I keep. Whenever I set up a new aquarium, I add these guys, snails and shrimp, like right away. Give them a chance to get in there and actually make it to the bottom of the tank so the fish don't eat them. And get an established breeding colony going, and then add the fish and everything else afterwards. And you can see anytime you see two go by that are stuck together, that's what they're doing, is they're making more of them. And I find you don't really get to see these that much in most aquariums, except some of the tanks with like smaller fry and that sort of thing. Or of course when you're breeding plecos. Because once they stick their heads out, they get eaten. Especially by fish like these here. I do add them into this, and they will find niches to hide in. But as soon as they stick their head out, they get picked off by these guys. So in tanks like this, I mostly rely on Plecostomus. I have, I think, currently 3 breeding colonies of plecos going. And, well, actually, with all the current shutdown, I think I'm going to have way more plecos than I'm ever going to need. Because I have nowhere to put them at the moment. But anyway, like I said, those 3 things end up keeping the tanks a lot cleaner, and there's a lot less work involved in doing maintenance on them, which is, well, really important to me. I'm not sure about you guys. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. Like, cleaning crew for me is something that I've noticed is mostly talked about for, like I said, saltwater tanks. But I do find them very useful for, freshwater tanks as well. So these guys are almost ready to get their invertebrates, and I'm going to stick them in there. I'm making, also the other thing I'm in the process of doing right now is I'm making a third style of lid. Not because I didn't like the 1/8 inch acrylic, it actually does quite well. But with all the projects I make, and every now and then I'm shifting lids around and trying to make something fit in, even just for something temporary. I've come up with a bit more of a modular lid, just so that I don't have to make a new lid or a partial lid or try to cover a tank once we get to the point where I'm trying to stick on something new. So that'll be coming up hopefully in the next little while as well. So this has been this is a good chunk of my fish room. There's 2 tanks to the left below the guppy tank that I don't show very often because they're just massive holding tanks for Africans at the moment. I have a lot of African clients that I have to take a lot of the fish out of the tanks. This side is going to eventually get attached to the other side, and then the far right, which I haven't shown anything of in quite a while, is all coming down, and it's going to be here, right. This is the fish room sound, by the way, and it's all going to come down and get rearranged and set up. So this is what my fish room sounds like. It's not loud, but some people probably find it too loud. But this is every aquarium. This is all 50 some odd of them. And as you can see, I have lots of bubbling and stuff like that. But like I said, it's a lot of aquariums, and I honestly don't really notice the noise. And once you go upstairs, you can't hear it at all. But I want to give you a little clip of that because a number of people have been asking. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. Sorry about the interruption in regular stuff. There you go. I'm back to a quieter clip. But I do want to get to that big build. The piece of acrylic you saw at the beginning of this is something I'm going to probably dub the rainforest build. And the reason why I want to do it is, all this quarantine stuff will have to end eventually. And hopefully, if I have enough clients left over at the end of it, I am going to need to revamp all those tanks because, well, they're getting next to no maintenance whatsoever at the moment. I have a handful of them that I go in and once every couple of weeks do a little bit of something, but it's actually really on a minimalist basis, and I am going to need to have a great deal of things to put back in those tanks. So I'm trying to breed up some more plants, and that's what the reason for doing that. It's not just for another video. It's actually something I'm going to hopefully need, and so I'm going to be doing that up in the near future, and I'll show you what that looks like. Well, I definitely think I've rambled on long enough for one day, so thank you very much for watching. If you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe, and definitely leave lots of comments. Let me know what you think of everything, and possible future projects as well. So thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.